Take three. So from our little rock slide area and the bridge, I've added, just using pink styrofoam, some elevation features, just to break it up a little bit. I have a special plan in here which will actually tie into the riprap area that's below there at the bottom of the screen. And then as I come around, again, to some low hills and kind of ridge lines or whatnot, just to give a little more interest to the layout and somewhat break up the two lines. Used a hot knife. On this section, as you can see, it's dark and looks kind of ugly, but it's okay because we're going to cover it up. So to help us do all these projects or whatnot, I finally broke down and bought what every railroader I think ends up using in the end, and that's Sculptamold. So if you've never seen this stuff before, I'm sure you have. It's modeling compound. It's a simple 2-to-1 mixture with water, and it sets up very, very quickly. It's got kind of an interesting composition to it, and kind of fibrous or whatnot. I've watched YouTube videos myself trying to figure it out, and we're going to give it a try today. Alright, so we're going to start out small. Just 1 part water here in my yogurt thing that I finished up this morning actually. And we're just going to, well, like this. Feels kind of like insulation. Something like that. Hopefully not as scratchy. And 1 and 2, they say. A lot of issues with Sculptamold, as I understand, is the expense. There's recipes, you can make this stuff at home. I don't know if I'm willing to try that because of the time. Looking at some of that material, it appeared that doing that by hand is not worth the time and expense just to get this stuff. So we'll put this together here. My camera's going to need to be cleaned off with all the dust. You can hear the fan running in the background. I was doing some of that hot knifing earlier, and obviously got a little stinky down here in the basement. Yeah, I don't know. We'll try it. I'll do it on the back side of the model just to see how it goes first, and then we'll expand from there. I put this on and let this sit for about a minute. So let it go a bit more. It's still pretty goopy. Just roughly shape it to the look you want it to have. Then we'll come back just a little bit, and as the directions say in the Sculptamold, with slightly wet hands to continue to shape it. And you can see it's very forgiving with the rough angles of the styrofoam, which if I would have taken more time I could have sanded and leveled and give a little more contour to, but this works fine. Obviously we want to be as efficient with the Sculptamold as we can because, as I mentioned, it is kind of spendy. So using styrofoam or chicken wire or the plaster sheets even first, there's a variety of ways to do it from my point of view. But this so far is looking really good using the Sculptamold as like the top coat. Now that this is set for about 5 minutes, you can see the consistency is not as giving, a little more form to it, and you can just simply come through and smooth and shape it kind of the way you want it to look. And again, I think we can be pretty forgiving because after this gets some paint, maybe some ground cover, and whatever other effect you're going to put on here. I'll put a few trees if I can afford them. It's kind of a spendy hobby. It'll look kind of good. Maybe, again, like a ridgeline you'd see along the roadside in Wisconsin. And we'll detail it out with some of those kinds of features, and should have a pretty good product in the end. Well, I'm rather pleased how the Sculptamold turned out. It did set up rather quickly in about the 20 or 30 minutes that it states on the package, but I've let this dry for a couple days before coming back to paint. And despite all my green that you've seen here on the base, I'm going to introduce a new color. I've kind of neglected what a lot of the experts have said start off with, and I'm going to move to more of a brown, dirt covered base terrain color here in the rest of this as well. Green isn't lost for sure, but we'll start out with that and we'll see how that looks next. One part I'm going to concentrate on is back here against the rock ledge and blending that in from the rock down to the ballast there on the track. See, I put a little extra Sculptamold there. I still have some left. And so this color is called Fudge, and it definitely looks like that. And it's an interesting color, and I think it'll work fine for an undercoat. As I go through and take a look at some of this and how it's going to come out up on these areas. Based on what I'm seeing, if I mix this a little bit lighter color, maybe some white or potentially some yellow, you can always go over it again to see what it looks like. But so far, it will work. So as a bit of an experiment, while the paint was wet, I went ahead and put on a little bit of coarse earth cover, and I am very happy with the way that looks. In fact, I think it looks much more realistic. There's my cover. Much better than the edge of this particular ridge right here. There's something about the color, it just blends better. So I'm very pleased about that. One thing I wanted to share with you all is if you're ever around Monroe, Wisconsin, down in the south central part of the state, you know hobby stores are few and far between. This one caught my eye, and I've always wanted to stop there, especially because they had advertised themselves as a train store, and they definitely are. So if you're ever down there in Monroe, and if you're familiar with Monroe, where the Swiss Colony is there on Highway 69 South, you can see they're just a little ways off the highway there. The little model you see up here is actually representative of the store to some degree. It's pretty neat. But the best thing to do is head to their Facebook site and check it out. When you walk in, you'll be blown away how much stuff he has, all scales, you name it, he's got it. I haven't seen it, but rumored in the basement is a huge N scale layout that you get to maybe go see if you visit the store. But check this for times and when they're open. The gentleman in the store, unfortunately, is going to be out for a little bit with a medical procedure, so I wouldn't want you to go there and be out of luck. But all kinds of material, supplies, the cars, Lokis, you name it. It's really, really cool, and I definitely look forward to going back. So we've discovered Sculptamold, and I'm very pleased with that material. And we'll take a quick overview of the work so far. Still a little bit disjointed, and obviously a lot more trimming and filling in to do, but that's what we're doing, figuring it out and seeing what works and just having fun.